"Oh Lord, somebody's baby's under the ground." The words tore out of Maya Johnson's throat before she even understood what she was saying. The metal watering can slipped from her hands and slammed onto the garden tiles with a clatter that rang through the quiet Long Island morning. She dropped to her knees, plunging both hands into the loose soil beneath the Caldwell rose garden. The dirt was soft, too soft, freshly turned, as if someone had been digging just moments ago. Then her fingers brushed something cold, smooth, human. A tiny hand. "No, no, no, Ethan." Her voice cracked as she clawed madly at the earth, pulling fistfuls of soil away with frantic, trembling movements. When she uncovered the small blue pajama shirt, her breath broke. She hooked both arms under the little boy's body and yanked him upward with all her strength, too hard, too sudden. Ethan's body jerked sharply, his chest convulsed, and he screamed. "Ah, it hurts." "Oh, Araf, Pirtsing, Terrified Kre. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry." Maya sobbed, holding him tight while he writhed weakly in her arms. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Lord, please, please keep him breathing." She stumbled backward with him, dirt spilling over her legs. His tiny fingers dug into her collar as he continued to cry a hoarse, choked sound from a throat full of soil. "Help!" she screamed. "Somebody help!" A door slammed. Heavy footsteps thundered across the patio. Richard Caldwell, one of the richest men in New York, came charging toward them, his face normally calm, polished, composed, twisted into something Maya had never seen before. Rage. Blinding, feral rage. "What have you done?" he roared. Maya tried to speak, voice shaking. "Sir, I found him under the roses." "You monster!" Richard lunged forward and ripped Ethan out of her arms. The boy wailed in pain at the sudden movement. Maya reached out. Panic flooding her. "Sir, please, I pulled him out because he was buried. Don't you dare touch him." His hand whipped across her cheek so hard her head snapped sideways. Pain exploded through her jaw before she had time to react. "You buried my son alive. You tried to kill him." "What? No, no, sir, please." Maya tried to rise, but he shoved her hard in the chest. She flew backward, crashing into the rose bushes. Sharp thorns tore at her arms, legs, and back, ripping through her uniform. She gasped, eyes watering as blood trickled down her forearm. She pushed herself up on shaking hands. "Mr. Caldwell, I would never—" "Shut up," he snarled, voice cracking with grief and fury. "I trusted you with my children." "Richard!" Celeste's voice floated from the terrace. Perfect hair, perfect silk robe, perfect timing. She rushed to his side, placing a trembling hand on his shoulder. "Oh my God! Maya, how could you?" Her eyes glistened with crocodile tears. "Ethan's just a child." "No, I didn't do this," Maya whispered, desperate. "I heard him cry. I dug him up. I saved him." Celeste gasped, hand covering her mouth. "You expect us to believe that? You were alone with him. You've been acting strange for weeks." "That's right," one of the housemaids shouted from the doorway. "I heard her talking to herself again this morning." Another voice chimed in. "She's obsessed with those kids." I always knew something was off. Maya's heart plummeted. "That's not true. Y'all know me. I would never hurt." "Monster," someone yelled. "Child killer," another shouted. "Get her away from here." Richard turned, eyes blazing with a fury that made Maya's knees weaken. "If Ethan dies," he growled, stepping toward her, "I swear on everything I own, your life won't be worth the dirt you dug up." Maya flinched, stumbling backward out of the thorny bushes. Her knees buckled, pain biting through her as she forced herself upright. "Sir, I'm begging you," she cried, voice trembling. "Just listen to me. He was buried when I found him. I swear to God." "Don't bring God into this," Richard snapped. "You're fired, and you're not setting foot inside this house again." Maya's breath vanished. "No, no, sir, please." She stumbled forward, the pain in her arm flaring as she dropped to her knees in the dirt. "I didn't hurt him. I saved him. I swear on my life. Sir, please, I can't lose this job." "No." Richard's jaw tightened in disgust. "Stand up, Maya." But she didn't. She couldn't. She bowed her head, hands clasped together, tears dripping into the soil. Please, Mr. Caldwell. My son needs surgery. I'm behind on every bill. I've been trying working extra shifts. Please don't do this. I'm all he has. Her voice cracked under the weight of desperation. I would never hurt Ethan. Never. Celeste stepped forward, her shadow falling over Maya like an eclipse. Richard, don't listen. She's trying to manipulate you. Isn't it obvious? She crouched slightly, eyes gleaming. Women like her know how to beg. It's what they do best. Something inside Maya wilted at those words, a humiliation deeper than the sting on her cheek. No, Maya sobbed. I heard him. I swear it. Celeste shook her head sadly. She's delusional, sweetheart. I warned you. Richard exhaled hard. Get off my property, Maya. Now. Maya forced herself to her feet, her legs trembling beneath her. She pressed a hand to the thorn cuts on her arm, feeling them sting. She wanted to scream the truth. Wanted to shake them and make them hear. But her voice wouldn't come. Hours later, after Ethan was stabilized, Maya sat on the cold marble steps, staring at her scraped palms. A police officer asked her the same question over and over. Where were you before you found the boy? I was gardening. I heard him crying underground. She repeated it like a prayer. You expect us to believe that? The officer muttered. Inside the house, Celeste's voice drifted sweetly through the hall. Detective, Maya has always been unstable. She talks to herself. She stares at the children's photos at night. I was afraid she might hurt someone. The detective scribbled notes. Maya clenched her teeth to keep from sobbing. Later that evening, as she washed the blood from her arms, a small shadow appeared at the doorway. Sophie. Her big brown eyes were wide, fearful. Miss Maya? Maya turned, forcing a soft smile. Hey, honey. Dad said you hurt Ethan. Maya's chest tightened. Sweetie, that's not true. Sophie twisted her teddy bear's ear. Celeste told me not to talk to you. She said Mommy's ghost is angry because you're bad luck. Maya froze. Mommy's ghost? Sophie nodded solemnly. She said Mommy's spirit sees everything. A shiver ran down Maya's spine. Honey, ghosts don't blame people, and I don't bring bad luck. Sophie hesitated, then whispered, I believe you. Maya hugged the little girl, swallowing a sob. But that night, lying on her narrow cot, staring at the cracks on the ceiling, she replayed everything, the scream, the soil, Richard's blow, Celeste's perfect performance. The house felt darker, older, heavy with secrets. Somebody had buried Ethan. Somebody wanted her blamed. And Maya, wiping tears from her cheeks, whispered into the darkness, Lord, if you put me here for a reason, don't let me run. Not this time. Upstairs, behind a softly closed door, Celeste stood at the window overlooking the rose garden, sipping wine. A faint smile curved her lips. The game had only begun. If you feel for Maya right now, hit the like button and comment where you're watching from. You might be closer to someone watching this story than you think. The next morning brought no peace. The mansion sat beneath a gloomy gray sky. Its towering windows shuttered. Its once beautiful garden now marred by trampled roses and muddy footprints. The scent of turned soil still hung heavy in the air, mixing with the fading perfume of crushed petals. Maya stood just beyond the rose bushes, her arms crossed over her chest, sleeves pulled down to hide the bruises and scratches. A soft breeze tugged at her uniform, and for a moment, she felt like a ghost haunting a place she no longer belonged to. The servants walked past her as if she weren't there. No one offered a glance, let alone a greeting. They had all heard the whispers. She did it. Buried the boy herself. Just snapped. Some nodded politely to Celeste as she glided through the halls with her morning coffee. Her robe still pristine. Her tone gentle. Maya knew that kind of sweetness. It was the sugar that masked poison. She hadn't slept. The welts on her back throbbed every time she moved. But more than that, the sound of Ethan's scream still rang in her ears. She'd saved him. She was sure of it. So why did the whole world act like she was the villain? She stepped into the house, clutching a damp cloth from the laundry room. Her shift hadn't officially ended. No one had even told her if she was truly fired, but she couldn't sit idle. The place needed cleaning. Life, no matter how cruel, always demanded tidiness. As she scrubbed mud off the tiled foyer floor, Richard appeared at the top of the staircase. His suit jacket hung loose over his shoulders. His eyes, once kind, were bloodshot, heavy with disbelief. Their eyes met. Maya stood slowly. "Sir, I don't want to hear it," he said, his voice low and hoarse. "Don't talk to me. Don't come near my children." Maya's throat tightened. "I didn't." He pointed a finger at her, shaking. "You think I care what you believe? You think that cry was because you saved him? No. That boy was in pain. Because of you." Celeste appeared behind him, placing a hand on his arm, stroking it like a well-trained wife. "She should leave, Richard," she whispered. "This is too much for the children. For all of us." Richard nodded once and turned away. Maya stood frozen, heart pounding. Every bone in her body screamed to defend herself, to fight back, to tell the truth, but nothing came out. The words died in her throat, suffocated by fear and shame. The day passed like a storm moving in slow motion. Reporters gathered at the mansion gate by noon, their cameras poking through the wrought iron fence, snapping photos of a story they didn't understand. Did the maid do it? They asked. Why would a woman of faith harm a child? Others debated whether Maya had mental health issues. Talk radio stations spun their own versions, igniting a firestorm of speculation and blame. Inside the house, Maya cleaned, stayed out of sight, and listened. She heard whispers between staff in the kitchen. She heard Celeste crying loudly on the phone to reporters. She heard Richard's heavy footsteps pacing all night long. By late evening, as the sky turned violet, Maya slipped into the garden again. The earth where Ethan had been buried was still loose, still dark. The wind rustled the hedges, sending dried petals fluttering across the ground. She knelt where she had saved him, pressing her hands into the dirt. "Why you?" she whispered to the soil. "Why'd they choose you, baby?" Then her fingers brushed something. Not soft earth this time, not roots. Metal. She dug gently, revealing a small object tucked just under the surface. A silver hairpin, elegant, engraved. She turned it over, wiping away the dirt with her thumb. Etched into the back were 2 letters, E.C. Her breath caught. Celeste's last name was Taylor, or so she claimed. But Maya remembered an old envelope she once threw away, with a return label marked Cortez. The name hadn't meant anything then. Now, it pulsed like a secret begging to be revealed. She stood, glancing up at the house. A light was on in the guest room, Celeste's room. A shadow moved behind the curtain. Watching, Maya stepped back quickly, stuffing the hairpin into her apron pocket. "You ain't who you say you are," she whispered, "and I'm gonna find out the rest." Later that night, in the stillness of the laundry room, she pulled out her old flip phone and dialed the only person she trusted who wasn't in this house. Detective Ramirez. He didn't answer. She left a message. "Detective, it's Maya Johnson. I know y'all think I'm crazy, but that boy didn't bury himself, and the woman upstairs, she ain't who she says she is. I found something. Call me back, please." She hung up, fingers trembling. In the hallway, soft footsteps moved past the laundry room. A voice, silky and low. "Some people don't know when to quit," Celeste said to no one in particular, just loud enough for Maya to hear. Maya pressed her back to the wall, heart thudding in her chest. She wasn't safe. Not anymore. But neither was the truth, and she wouldn't let it die in the dirt like that little boy almost had. She clutched the silver hairpin tighter and whispered, "Lord, if I'm your hands in this, show me where to dig next." Morning came with the kind of silence that didn't soothe, it suffocated. The Caldwell mansion, draped in expensive quiet, carried the weight of what had happened. And still, life moved on. The children were kept upstairs, the staff spoke in hushed tones, and no one mentioned the garden, not the blood, not the scream, not the woman who had saved the boy's life and been accused of trying to end it. Maya stepped into the dining room just before breakfast was served, hands scrubbed raw, uniform crisp despite the bruises beneath it. Her face was still swollen from where Richard had struck her, but she held her head high. If the house would rather pretend she didn't exist, so be it. She would haunt them quietly. Celeste sat at the head of the table like she belonged there. Silk robe, pearl earrings, crossed ankles that didn't touch the floor. She sipped from a porcelain teacup with slow, practiced elegance. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a soft chignon, and not a strand was out of place. She was every inch the image of composure, of innocence. "Ah, there she is," Celeste said sweetly, setting her cup down. "You're still here, brave." Maya didn't respond. She moved to the sideboard to pour orange juice for the children, who would arrive any moment. Her fingers tightened around the pitcher's handle. "I suppose I should be grateful," Celeste continued, her tone light. "After all, you did pull Ethan from the dirt. Even if, well, you put him there first." Maya turned slowly, her voice calm but firm. "I didn't bury that child, and you know it." Celeste tilted her head. "Do I?" Their eyes locked. For the first time, Celeste's perfect smile flickered. Only for a second, but Maya saw it. The mask was thin. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Richard appeared, dressed in a gray suit, looking as though he hadn't slept. Behind him, Sophie walked slowly, holding her teddy bear, her free hand clutching the side of her father's jacket. Maya smiled gently. "Morning, Miss Sophie." The little girl looked up, eyes wide, then quickly looked away. Richard said nothing, just moved to the head of the table across from Celeste and sat down. Maya set the pitcher down and turned to leave. "Actually," Celeste said, her voice suddenly louder. "Maya, would you stay a moment? Richard and I were discussing something." Maya paused. "Yes, ma'am?" Richard glanced at Celeste, his expression uncertain. Celeste placed both hands neatly on the table. "Given the incident, we feel it's best that you take some time away. Maybe a few weeks. For rest. Reflection." "You mean leave?" Maya said flatly. Celeste smiled. "Voluntarily, of course. No one wants trouble." "Meh. I'm not leaving those children alone with you." Richard's head jerked up. "What did you say?" Maya swallowed. "I said, they need someone who's looking out for them, and I always have." "You're overstepping," Celeste said sharply. "No," Maya said, stepping forward. "I'm protecting." Silence. Sophie stared at her cereal. Richard stood abruptly, fists clenched. "That's enough," he said. "You are a guest in my home. You are not their mother. You are not family. You are staff." Maya nodded slowly. "Yes, sir. And sometimes the staff are the only ones who notice what's really happening." Celeste's chair scraped softly as she stood. "You can pack your things, Maya. I'll pack when Ethan wakes up and tells you what happened. Until then, I'll be here." Maya turned and walked out, leaving Celeste and Richard in a silence thick as winter frost. That afternoon, she found herself back in the small servant quarters at the rear of the house. A cracked mirror hung above the sink, and as she splashed cold water on her face, she stared at her reflection. Tired eyes, bruised skin, determination still burning behind the hurt. Her phone buzzed on the cot. She lunged for it, breath-catching. "Detective Ramirez." She answered quickly. "Detective?" "Maya," came his voice, cautious but warm. "Got your message. What exactly did you find?" She took a deep breath. "A hairpin. Silver. Initials EC. Celeste's not her real name. I think she's hiding something. Something big." Ramirez hesitated. "EC? You think it stands for?" "Elena Cortez," Maya finished. "That name ever come across your desk?" There was silence on the line. Then Ramirez said, "I'll look into it. And Maya, be careful." She hung up, hands trembling. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Maya returned to the garden. The rose bushes had started to bloom again, despite being trampled. Life was stubborn that way. She knelt beside the spot where she had found Ethan. The dirt had hardened slightly, but she could still feel the sorrow in it. "Lord," she whispered, pressing her palm to the ground, "this house got too many lies in it. Help me see what's real." Suddenly, a small voice behind her broke the stillness. "Miss Maya?" She turned. Sophie stood there, barefoot on the grass, her teddy bear tucked under one arm. "Yes, baby?" "I heard Celeste talking on the phone. She said you'd be gone soon. She said you were dangerous." Maya stood slowly, walking toward her. "Did she say anything else?" Sophie nodded. She said, "He was supposed to stay quiet. Maya's heart dropped. When did she say that? Last night. Maya knelt. You did good telling me, Sophie. But you gotta be careful now, okay? The little girl nodded solemnly. Maya looked up at the house. One of the lights flicked on in Celeste's room. She's watching us again, Sophie whispered. Maya took her hand gently. Let her watch, because I'm watching back. Sophie's small hand tightened in Maya's as they walked toward the back steps of the mansion, the dusk light stretching their shadows long across the lawn. The air was thick with humidity, the kind that wrapped itself around the skin and made every breath feel heavy. Fireflies flitted lazily around the hedges. Somewhere inside the house, a phone rang, then abruptly stopped. The place felt haunted not by spirits, but by the weight of secrets too big for its walls. When they reached the doorway, Sophie hesitated. Miss Maya, I'm scared. Maya knelt down, eye level with her. What are you scared of, baby? Sophie looked over her shoulder toward the garden. Celeste said. She said Mommy watches everything. And Mommy gets mad. Especially when people tell lies. Maya smoothed back a curl from the girl's forehead. Honey, your mommy loved you. That kind of love don't turn into anger from the other side. That's just something someone told you to keep you afraid. Sophie bit her lip. Celeste said Mommy's ghost talked to her. A chill crept up Maya's spine. She forced her voice to stay steady. Sometimes grown-ups say things that ain't true, sweetie. Especially grown-ups who got something to hide. Sophie looked down. Miss Maya, are you going away? No, Maya whispered. Not until the truth comes out. They stepped inside, Sophie padding upstairs, teddy bear dragging on the carpet behind her. Maya watched until she disappeared around the landing, then closed the door gently. She didn't get more than 2 steps into the hallway before Celeste's voice floated from the living room. Sophie? Darling? Was that you with someone? Maya stiffened. Celeste's heels clicked across the hardwood. She appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a satin robe the color of moonlight. Her eyes swept the hall until they found Maya and froze on her. Oh, Celeste said. It's you. Yes, ma'am. Just making sure Sophie got inside. Celeste smiled, slow, rehearsed. I appreciate your concern, but it's no longer required. My family has been through enough. Maya met her gaze, voice low. Funny. Seems like the trouble started when you showed up. The smile vanished for a blink, just long enough to show the truth beneath it. Then Celeste stepped closer. So close Maya could smell her perfume, cool, floral, expensive. You're bold for someone hanging by a thread, Celeste whispered. I told Richard this house would be safer without you, and he agrees. That what you told him? Maya asked softly. Or what you made him believe? Celeste leaned in, her voice dropping to a hiss. If you knew what was best for you, you'd disappear before you ruin what's left of your life. Maya didn't flinch. Ma'am, I already lost enough. I ain't losing my soul on top of it. Celeste's eyes hardened. Watch yourself. Then she drifted away, her robe sweeping behind her like a ghost. Maya waited until she was gone before letting out a shaky breath. Her fingers brushed the hairpin hidden in her pocket. Initials EC. That wasn't a coincidence. Nothing in this house was. She checked the clock hanging above the foyer table. If she was going to find proof, real proof, she needed to do it before Celeste caught on to how much she knew. She headed toward the west wing, where the staff offices were kept. The hallway was dim, lit only by the warm glow of wall sconces. Each step echoed faintly, reminding her how empty the house felt when the truth was trying to crawl out of it. She passed the study. The door was cracked just an inch. Voices drifted out. Richard and Celeste. Maya paused, leaning just close enough to hear without being seen. Don't know what to believe anymore, Richard said, voice worn thin. Ethan's still barely speaking. And Sophie clings to that maid like she's manipulating them. Celeste finished smoothly. Richard. People like her. They get too attached. They blur lines. She's fragile. Emotional. You heard the officers. She claims she heard a cry underground. It's delusional. Richard exhaled shakily. But she worked for us for years. She never... People snap, darling, Celeste murmured. Stress. Loneliness. Obsession. What if she wanted attention? What if she needed you to see her as some kind of hero? Maya's jaw clenched. "That's enough for tonight," Richard whispered. "I can't think straight." Chairs moved. Footsteps. Maya slipped back into the shadows just as the door opened. Celeste walked out first, her face smooth as porcelain. Richard followed. Shoulders slumped. Neither noticed her. When they disappeared upstairs, Maya slipped into the study. The room smelled faintly of cigars and old books. A picture of Richard's late wife sat on the corner of the desk. A beautiful woman with dark curls and warm eyes. Sophie's eyes. Ethan's smile. Maya gently touched the frame. "I wish you were here, ma'am," she whispered. "Your babies need you." Suddenly, a muffled thump echoed from upstairs, a child's footstep, too small to belong to an adult. "Sophie?" No, the direction was wrong. This came from the East Wing, a place kids never went alone. Maya followed the sound, moving quickly but silently. The house seemed to breathe around her, every creak of the floorboard a warning. When she reached the east hallway, she froze. At the very end, a shadow moved. A tiny one. "Ethan?" Maya whispered. The boy stood halfway down the corridor, barefoot, his little hands gripping the rail. His face was pale, his eyes half open as if still drifting between sleep and fear. He stared at her. Then he whispered, voice trembling and thin as thread. "She said I had to be quiet, or she'd put me back." Maya's heart lurched. "Who, baby?" she asked gently, stepping closer. "Who said that?" He opened his mouth, but another voice sliced through the hallway. "Ethan." Celeste's sharp tone cracked like a whip. The boy flinched. Celeste appeared at the top of the stairs, mask of concern plastered on her face. "Sweetheart, you shouldn't be out of bed. Come to mommy." Ethan took a step back, toward Maya. Celeste saw it. Her eyes changed. Maya stepped between them. "He's scared. He needs..." Celeste's smile vanished. "He needs rest, not you." She grabbed the boy's wrist. "Too hard." Ethan cried out softly. "Don't touch him like that," Maya said before she could stop herself. Celeste's gaze sharpened to a blade. "You're done here." She pulled Ethan away and vanished down the hall, leaving Maya standing alone. Only a faint whisper lingered in the air. "She'd put me back." Maya pressed a hand to her chest, steadying her breath. "Lord," she murmured, "this house is choking on lies." She turned toward the staircase. "And I'm gonna make it spit out the truth." Maya stood in the dim hallway long after Celeste disappeared with Ethan. Her heart pounded like a war drum against her chest, her fingers twitching at her sides. She could still hear his whisper. "She said I had to be quiet, or she'd put me back." No 6-year-old should ever say something like that, not unless they'd lived through something too dark for their age. She made her way back to her room, moving quickly, quietly. The servant quarters were at the far end of the mansion, separate, isolated. It used to feel like a safe place. Now, it felt like exile. Maya sat on the edge of her cot and pulled out the silver hairpin again. E.C. Elena Cortez. The initials gleamed under the flickering yellow light. Her fingers trembled as she turned the pin over and over in her hand. The name had to mean something. People like Celeste didn't leave clues unless they were confident no one would find them. But Maya wasn't like most people. She took out an old spiral notebook from under her cot and opened it. It was worn and faded, pages crinkled from years of being hidden and written in with the same urgency she now felt. Maya had a habit every time something strange happened in the Caldwell house. She wrote it down. At first it was innocent, a drawer left open, a misplaced toy, whispers at night. But now it felt like her only lifeline to the truth. She scribbled down the name Elena Cortez and circled it twice. Then, next to it, she wrote, "Silver hairpin, initials E.C., found near burial site." Underneath that, Ethan's whisper. "She'd put me back." The sound of laughter drifted in from the main house. Not a child's giggle. Grown-up laughter. Celeste's voice bright, polished, rehearsed. As if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't just dragged a frightened child back upstairs like a rag doll. Maya stood. She needed answers, and the only place she might find them was behind Celeste's curtain. It was nearly 10 p.m. when she crept through the back corridor leading to the guest wing. Most of the staff had turned in. Richard was likely in his office. buried in emails and investor calls. That left Celeste's room mostly unguarded. She paused outside the guest suite door. The hallway was silent. She pressed her ear gently to the wood. Inside, the sound of a hairdryer hummed. Perfect. Maya turned the knob slowly and slipped in. Celeste's room was a catalog photo come to life. Everything in ivory and gold, silk and crystal. Perfume bottles lined the dresser like soldiers. But Maya's attention went straight to the nightstand. A small leather-bound organizer sat there, half open. Maya flipped through quickly menus, charity invitations, a handwritten grocery list. Nothing. She turned to the walk-in closet. Shoes lined the wall like museum exhibits, heels arranged by color, season, and brand. Maya scanned the back wall, ran her fingers along the edge of a small storage trunk. Locked. She dropped to her knees and ran her hand underneath. Nothing. Then on the top shelf she spotted it, a red file folder, out of place among the whites and silvers. She climbed the small step stool and pulled it down. Her heart thundered as she flipped it open. Inside, passport photos of Celeste. Only, they weren't labeled Celeste Taylor. One read, Elena Cortez, Argentina. Another, Maria Esteves, Chile. Another, Lauren Chase, London. All of them bore the same face. Maya's hands shook. She flipped through more pages, marriage licenses, visas, name change affidavits, and then a death certificate for a child, 6 years old, buried during a boating accident off the coast of Barcelona. The mother's name, Elena Cortez. Maya nearly dropped the file. She shoved the documents back into place just as the bathroom door creaked. Going somewhere? Celeste's voice was no longer smooth. It was sharp, laced with venom. Maya turned slowly. I knocked. No answer. Was checking to see if Ethan was with you. Celeste stepped out of the bathroom, her silk robe clinging to her damp skin, her expression unreadable. I think it's time we set some boundaries, Maya. Maya held her ground. Boundaries don't work when people cross lines that put children in the ground. Celeste tilted her head. You have a very wild imagination. I have evidence. Celeste smirked. What will you do with it? Go to the police? They already think you're unstable. Emotional. Obsessed. Why do you think they let you walk out of that interrogation room without an apology? Maya's throat tightened. Because they don't care. No, Celeste said softly. Because they believe I care more. She stepped closer, her perfume sweet and cloying. You are alone. A maid, a black woman with no family, no lawyer, and no allies. And me? I'm the fiancé of one of the most powerful men in the state. So, go ahead. Try it, Maya whispered. You buried that boy. Celeste's smile didn't fade. And yet here we are, him breathing. You broken. Who do you think they'll believe? Maya walked past her without another word. If she said anything more, she might not be able to keep her hands from shaking. Back in her room, she locked the door and dropped to the floor. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She opened her notebook and wrote a single line. She's killed before. She'll do it again. Then she drew a box around the names. Elena Cortez, Maria Esteves, Lauren Chase. Below them, in capital letters, patterns don't lie, people do. She would not let this disappear. Because Celeste had pulled too many curtains, and Maya was done watching shadows move in silence. Morning light seeped through the cracked blinds in Maya's room, washing over her like a silent warning. She hadn't slept. The file folder still haunted her memory, the false identities, the dead child, the repetition of grief left in Elena Cortez's wake. And now that woman wore silk robes, kissed Richard Caldwell on the cheek, and played stepmother to the very children she might one day bury. Maya stepped into the hallway just as the rest of the staff began moving about. Most wouldn't look her in the eye. Those who did gave her tight-lipped smiles and quick nods, like she was some old, strange woman from church, whose presence made them uncomfortable but couldn't be ignored. She made her way to the upstairs nursery. The children hadn't come down for breakfast. No smell of pancakes or maple syrup filled the house, just quiet, and the faint hum of the central air conditioning kicking on. She tapped on the nursery door. No answer. Gently she pushed it open. The room smelled of lavender and dust. Sunlight streamed through sheer curtains, casting soft stripes on the floor. Ethan lay curled on the bed, clutching his dinosaur plush like it was the only safe thing left in the world. He didn't stir when she stepped inside. He'd been sleeping a lot since the incident. Or maybe he was pretending. Who could blame him? Sophie sat on the window bench, legs drawn up, chin resting on her knees. "Hey there," Maya said softly. Sophie looked up but said nothing. Maya sat beside her. "How's your brother?" Sophie shrugged. "He doesn't talk much, but he looks at me sometimes like he's scared I'll vanish." Maya gently brushed the girl's hair away from her face. "You're not going anywhere. Neither am I." Sophie hesitated, then whispered, "Did you really dig him up?" Maya nodded. "Yes, baby, I did." "Was he?" Maya swallowed. "He was alive. Barely. But yes." Sophie turned her face to the window. "Celeste said you buried him to be a hero." Maya felt her chest tighten. "And what do you believe?" The girl turned back, eyes wide. "I believe you saved him, 'cause Mommy would have too." Maya closed her eyes. The truth from a child's lips carried more weight than 100 signatures from grown men. They sat in silence for a while before Maya stood. "Go wash up, sugar. I'll make sure he's okay." Sophie slipped out quietly. Maya approached Ethan's bed. His eyes were open now. Barely. "Morning, baby." He blinked once. "You hungry?" No answer. She pulled the comforter up over his chest and leaned down to straighten the pillows. That's when she saw it. Something was sticking out from underneath the bed frame, just a corner of blue plastic. She reached under and pulled it out. It was a toy truck. Small, chipped, familiar. It wasn't supposed to be here. It was Ethan's favorite toy, the one that had disappeared 3 days ago. And it was covered in dirt. Not ordinary dirt. Rich, dark soil. The same kind that had been packed over his small body in the garden. Maya sat back on her heels, heart thudding. Someone had brought it back, planted it, to link Ethan's injury to her room, to her care, to her reach. She turned the truck over and over in her hands. On the bottom, written in smudged Sharpie, were the letters, E. Caldwell. There was no mistaking it, and now it was here, under his bed, returned like a silent message. She stood abruptly and tucked the toy into her apron. Downstairs, Richard's voice echoed from the kitchen. "I said no reporters today, Celeste. The last thing we need is another headline." Maya's ears perked. Celeste's voice followed, calm and slippery. "You're letting your guilt cloud your judgment, Richard. The world wants reassurance that your family is safe." "I don't care what the world wants," Richard snapped. "I care that my son almost died, and I don't know who to trust anymore." Maya stepped down 2 stairs and paused. Celeste lowered her voice. "Then let me remind you. I've stood by you while your name was dragged through the mud. That Maid? She's unstable. Sweet. Yes. But emotional. You saw how she clings to the children like they're hers. You saw how she looked at you when you took Ethan from her." Maya gripped the banister tight. Richard exhaled, defeated. "I don't know what's true anymore." Celeste sighed. "Then let me protect this family. Let me handle it." "No." Maya backed away from the staircase quietly. Whatever Celeste was handling, it wasn't in the children's best interest. She slipped into the laundry room and pulled out her flip phone. The line to Detective Ramirez rang twice before he picked up. "Ramirez, it's Maya. I just found something," she whispered. "Ethan's toy truck. The one that went missing." "Where?" "Under his bed, covered in dirt. Same dirt from the garden." Ramirez was silent for a moment. "So someone took it, planted it, and put it back?" "Yes, and I think I know who." Ramirez's voice lowered. "Maya, listen. I ran the name Elena Cortez. You were right. She has a record. Not under her real name, but there are sealed cases overseas. I'm working on getting them unsealed. She's dangerous, Detective. And she's here, in this house." "I believe you now," he said quietly. "But I need something concrete. Something I can bring before a judge." Maya looked down at the toy in her hands. "I'm getting closer." As she hung up, a shadow passed outside the laundry room door. A slow, deliberate footstep. She waited until it faded before exhaling. They were watching her, but she was watching back. And this time, she wasn't digging graves. She was digging for the truth. The kitchen was unusually quiet that afternoon. No clatter of pans, no humming from the staff. not even the sharp clicks of Celeste's heels crossing the marble floor. It was the kind of quiet Maya had learned to fear, not peace, but the breath before something awful arrived. She stood by the sink, washing Ethan's dinosaur plush gently by hand. Dirt from the garden still stained its felt edges, and she couldn't bring herself to toss it in the machine. Some things needed a softer touch. Maya. She turned. Richard stood in the doorway. Sleeves rolled. Shirt unbuttoned at the collar. He looked tired, more so than usual. The shadows beneath his eyes were darker. His expression unreadable. "Sir," she said cautiously. He stepped closer, not meeting her gaze. "I need you to give Ethan some medicine before his nap." Maya straightened. "What kind of medicine?" Richard hesitated, then pulled a small bottle from his jacket pocket. The label was half peeled, the name unfamiliar. She turned it over in her hand. "Doxaphene," she murmured, frowning. "This isn't from Dr. Williams." "No," Richard said. "It's from a specialist Celeste recommended. She says it'll help Ethan rest. Lately, he's been restless." Maya held the bottle like it was a ticking clock. "With all due respect, sir, maybe the boy's restless because of what he's been through, not because he's sick." Richard's jaw tightened. "You're questioning my decisions now?" "No, sir," she said softly. "I'm questioning hers." His eyes met hers sharply. Maya placed the bottle on the counter between them. "Ethan don't need this. He needs to feel safe, not sedated." "She says you're overstepping again," Richard said coldly. "Says you're obsessed." Maya took a breath. "Sir, how many names has she given you? How much of her past do you really know?" Richard froze. Then, his voice dropped. "She's told me everything." Maya nodded. "Then you're a lucky man. Most of us ain't got someone so willing to confess all their sins up front." He didn't reply. He just turned and walked away, his silence louder than any slam of a door. Maya picked up the medicine bottle and turned it slowly in her hand. Later that day, when the children had gone upstairs, she crept into the guest bathroom where Celeste kept her cosmetics. The marble counters were immaculate, as always, the mirror spotless. Maya opened the drawer beneath the sink and found a small travel bag tucked behind a tissue box. Inside were several syringes. Her breath hitched. They were pre-filled, unlabeled, tightly packed. She reached for one and paused. The door creaked open. Maya froze. Celeste's reflection appeared in the mirror, calm and ghost-like. "I wouldn't touch that if I were you," she said sweetly. Maya straightened. "You drugging that boy, Celeste?" Celeste stepped into the room, her perfume overwhelming. "I'm helping him. He's anxious, withdrawn. Children need balance. Children need love," Maya snapped. "They need truth." Celeste smiled gently. "They need structure. And your chaos." Maya tightened her grip on the edge of the counter. "What's in those syringes?" Celeste leaned in, their faces inches apart. "Why don't you inject yourself and find out?" Maya stepped back, her voice calm and lethal. "You keep playing nurse and sooner or later someone's gonna ask for your license." Celeste shrugged. "As if your word matters. You think anyone believes you now?" Maya walked past her, refusing to rise to the bait. But she didn't walk away empty-handed. Before she left, she slipped a folded paper from the bag tucked between the syringes. A typed note on crisp stationery, signed with a name she didn't recognize. Dr. Emery Lachlan. That night, she called Detective Ramirez again. "I found a note," she said. "New name, Emery Lachlan. Supposed doctor, maybe prescribing meds under the table." "I'll check him," Ramirez said. "Maya, be careful." She hung up and tucked the note beneath her pillow. An hour later, a soft knock came at her door. Maya opened it. Sophie stood barefoot in her pajamas, clutching her bear. "She's making Ethan take shots," the girl whispered. "But he don't like them." Maya knelt. "Did you see her do it?" Sophie nodded. "She gives him a treat after, and she says it's a game." Maya hugged her close. "Thank you for telling me, sugar. You did real brave." Sophie's voice shook. "Is she gonna hurt us?" Maya pulled back, looking her in the eye. "Not if I'm still breathing." Sophie nodded. "I believe you." Maya watched her walk back down the hall, the child's small feet quiet on the floorboards. She turned back into her room and closed the door, leaning against it. The storm was gathering. She could feel it. Celeste wasn't just trying to control the narrative. She was controlling the children, their sleep, their truth. And now Maya had proof. She placed the note on the table beside the toy truck. One name at a time, one clue at a time. The mask was peeling away. And Maya would make sure the whole world saw what lay beneath it. The next morning broke through with a brutal kind of clarity, cloudless, cold, and unforgiving. Sunlight flooded through the tall windows of the Caldwell mansion, illuminating every polished surface like a spotlight on secrets still buried. But Maya wasn't hiding anymore. The mask was cracking, and she had no intention of letting Celeste or Elena, or whatever her real name was, put it back together. Maya moved swiftly through the staff hallway, her steps silent but steady. She kept her head low, but her eyes were sharp, tracking every movement, every exchange. She knew Celeste would try to strike soon, maybe through Richard, maybe through fear, but Maya wasn't going to flinch this time. She slipped into the storage room beside the laundry quarters, a narrow space filled with cleaning supplies, unopened packages, and boxes of estate paperwork. It was where the staff stored everything the family didn't think about, forgotten things. And sometimes, things people wanted forgotten. Maya pulled a battered storage crate off the second shelf, labeled Estate Records, 2006, 2012. Dust bloomed into the air, making her cough as she pried it open. Inside were files of renovations, maintenance logs, staff payroll ledgers. She flipped through page after page, eyes scanning for names: Celeste Taylor, Elena Cortez, anything familiar. Then she saw it. A background check, dated 3 years ago, attached to an employment application for a Celeste Monroe. The phone number and address were outdated, but the photo was unmistakable. Blonde. Smiling. Cold around the eyes. Maya stared at the application. No social security number listed. Just a reference from a foreign charity. And a signature that read, C. Monroe. She grabbed her notebook and scribbled. Multiple aliases. Monroe, Taylor, Cortez. Then she added a circle around the phrase, no verified ID. She tucked the document under her shirt and turned to leave, but her foot caught the edge of another crate on the floor. The box tipped, spilling its contents, papers, binders, and a small velvet jewelry pouch. It fell open. Inside, nestled in soft red fabric, lay another hairpin. Maya knelt, breath catching in her throat. Silver, identical shape, engraved on the back, EC. She picked it up slowly, holding it in the light. This wasn't the same one from the garden. This one was cleaner, shinier, like a spare, or a memento. Suddenly, a sound echoed behind her. Footsteps. Quick, approaching. She shoved both the hairpin and application form into her pocket and eased the door shut behind her just as Celeste's voice called out from the main corridor. Has anyone seen Maya? Maya pressed herself flat against the inside wall of the supply closet. Her breath slowed to a shallow, controlled rhythm. I could have sworn I heard something, Celeste muttered, her voice drawing closer. Maya didn't move. Then silence. A long, suffocating pause. Finally, Celeste's voice floated off. Maybe she finally took the hint. When Maya was sure the hallway was empty, she slipped out, heart hammering. She moved straight toward the back stairwell, taking them two at a time until she reached the servants' corridor on the 3rd floor. In her room, she locked the door behind her, pulled out the documents and the new hairpin, and laid them on the bed next to the toy truck, the prescription slip, and her notebook. Piece by piece, her case was building. 2 hairpins. One in the soil with Ethan, one hidden in storage. Both engraved, EC, 2 versions of the same lie. She grabbed her phone and dialed Ramirez again. This is getting worse, she whispered when he picked up. She's been here under at least 3 names. I found another hairpin with her initials, same as the one buried near Ethan. Ramirez sounded more alert now. We're cross-referencing those aliases. The Cortez identity came up in a sealed family case in Argentina. It involved a child's death ruled accidental, but messy. She's done this before, Maya said. She's never been charged, he replied. She knows how to move. She's moving now, Maya said. And I think she's about to push harder. The drugs, the toys, the manipulation. She's laying a trap. I'll fast-track the search on Dr. Lachlan, too. If she's using someone to get drugs under the radar, that's leverage. As she hung up, a soft knock came at the door. Her muscles tensed. "Miss Maya?" Sophie's voice, small and hesitant. She opened the door quickly and pulled the girl inside. "What is it, honey?" Sophie climbed onto the bed and pulled something from her pocket. A photograph. Old, worn, torn along the edge. "I found this in Celeste's closet," she whispered. Maya took it carefully. The image was blurry, but unmistakable. Celeste, her real face, stood next to a man in a sharp suit and a young girl who looked eerily like Sophie. But it wasn't Sophie. It was someone else. Same age, same eyes. She said it was me. But it's not. Maya stared at the photo, chilled. Where did she get this? "I don't know," Sophie said, voice trembling. But she cried when she looked at it. Then she told me I was lucky, that some girls don't get second chances. Maya's fingers gripped the photo. This wasn't just a lie. This was obsession. Celeste had latched onto this family not by accident, but because they resembled something or someone she had lost. Someone she couldn't save, or didn't try to. Maya wrapped her arm around Sophie. "You did good, sugar. I promise I'm gonna keep you and your brother safe." Sophie leaned into her. "Even if she gets mad?" "Especially then." Mose. After Sophie left, Maya stared at the collection on her bed. The photo, the hairpins, the prescription, the toy truck. All pieces of a puzzle Celeste had been building for years. But now, Maya had her own picture forming. And soon, everyone else would see it. Maya barely slept that night. The items spread across her bed felt like landmines, each one a silent witness to a woman's obsession and a child's near death. She spent the early hours cataloging, noting patterns, connecting dots in a language no one else seemed willing to read. By dawn, the house came alive again. Coffee brewed. Staff whispered. Celeste sang to herself in the hallway as if nothing was wrong. The woman could play normal like a violin, but Maya knew the sound was hollow. After the children had breakfast under Maya's quiet supervision, she returned to the hallway near the east wing, where she'd found Ethan wandering. She had one purpose, to find out what he'd meant by, "She said I had to be quiet," or she'd put me back. The east wing was rarely used. A stretch of old guest rooms, storage closets, and a narrow library the family never touched. Most of the doors were locked or warped from time, but Ethan had come from here that night. Something in this part of the house frightened him. Maya could feel it too. She moved slowly, her hand brushing the faded floral wallpaper as she walked. One door, midway down the hall, stood slightly ajar. The air changed near it colder, still. She stepped inside. It was an old nursery. Dust blanketed every surface. A crib stood in the corner, draped in yellowing lace. Toys sat forgotten in a wooden chest. But the strangest thing wasn't what was in the room, it was what was missing. The silence was too complete. She walked to the far wall and noticed something odd, a vent cover that looked newer than the rest of the room. She crouched and put her ear to it, and she heard it, a whisper, faint, like breath on the other side of a door. She froze, held her breath. "Don't cry." The voice was female, soft, not a ghostly whisper but like someone speaking from behind the wall. "Don't cry. You were bad, so now you sleep." Maya's skin crawled. She reached into the vent, fingers scraping metal. It wasn't deep, but something was wedged inside. She pulled. Out came a crumpled photograph. Torn. Water-stained. It was a picture of a little girl, around 5 or 6. Her eyes wide, haunted. And standing behind her, Celeste. Same cold smile. Maya's hand shook. She turned the photo over. In smeared ink, Helena, Lily, Rio de Janeiro, 2008. A different country, a different child, but the same pattern. "Miss Maya?" She jumped. Ethan stood in the doorway, pale and quiet, his small fingers twisting the hem of his shirt. She knelt. "Hey baby, you okay?" He nodded slowly, then looked past her at the vent. His lip quivered. "That's where she put Lily." Maya's stomach dropped. "Who's Lily, honey?" He pointed at the photo in her hand. "Her. You saw her?" He nodded. "She cried. A lot." Maya swallowed hard. "Did Celeste hurt her?" His shoulders curled in. She said Lily was bad. She said, if I tell, she'll make me go back in the wall. Maya fought to keep her voice calm. You're safe now, baby. I promise. Nobody's gonna put you anywhere. He looked at her with tears welling. But she's watching. Maya hugged him tight. Then we'll watch her back. Later, after getting Ethan settled with a book and a snack, she called Ramirez. She's got a history in Brazil too, Maya whispered. I found a photo. Girl named Lily. And Ethan says she was hidden in the wall. Jesus, Ramirez muttered. I'm putting pressure on Interpol now. If there are missing children connected to those aliases, they'll surface. Ethan's terrified, Maya added. She's using fear like it's medicine. We're close, Maya, he said. You just need one piece that ties her to actual harm in this state. Something we can't ignore. Maya hung up and turned toward the hallway window. Outside, Celeste laughed by the pool, phone in one hand, sunglasses on, as if she hadn't lived 100 lives with broken children in her rear view. That afternoon, Maya caught Richard alone in his study. I need to show you something, she said firmly, handing him the photo from the vent. He stared at it, eyes narrowing. Who is this? Her name was Lily, Maya said. Ethan remembers her. Says Celeste Elena put her in the wall, in the old nursery. In your house. Richard's hand trembled slightly. This can't be. She's lied about everything, Maya said. Her name, her past, her purpose. Sir, she didn't come here to build a future. She came to rewrite her past. Richard set the photo down, eyes distant. She told me her little sister died in a fire, he whispered. She cried when she said it. Told me that's why she never wanted children of her own. Maya sat across from him. It's not a lie if she believes it's someone else's fault. That's what people like her do. They rewrite the story until even they believe it. He rubbed his temples. What do you want from me? I want you to look at your kids, she said, voice steady, and ask yourself if she sees them or sees ghosts. A long silence. Then he said quietly, watch her. If she slips, I'll back you. Maya nodded. Thank you. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Maya sat at her small desk and looked over the photo again. On the back, she scribbled a note. The wall remembers. The children remember. The truth lives in silence, but not forever. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but she knew this. Whatever Celeste had done before, whatever she was planning now, Maya was ready. And this time, she would not be the one buried. The morning air hung heavy with humidity, the kind that pressed against your skin and made every breath feel like it had weight. From her window, Maya watched Celeste in the garden, wearing a flowing cream dress that looked hand-picked for an audience. Her hands moved delicately over a bed of hydrangeas, trimming dead blooms as if they were nuisances to be silenced. But Maya knew better now. That garden wasn't just a pretty corner of the Caldwell estate. It was a graveyard. Ethan's shallow burial had been disguised beneath the rose bushes, and Maya couldn't stop wondering, was there more beneath those flower beds? More secrets? More silence? She needed to dig again. But this time, it couldn't just be with her hands. It had to be with truth. After breakfast, she found Richard in the study again. He looked older than he had just days ago, creased brow, tie loosened, as if the weight of not knowing had finally settled on him. She dropped a manila folder on his desk. What's this? He asked. Every missing child report from countries where Celeste has lived under aliases, she said. Interpol. Sealed court documents. Ramirez helped pull strings. He opened the folder slowly. Inside were